prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
Any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to a major circulation American journal.
We do have people who submit pieces to American journals.
Do you have any people paid by the CIA who are working for television networks?
This, I think, gets into the kind of getting into the details, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to get into in executive session.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to the national news services, AP and UPI?
Well, again, I think we're getting into the kind of detail, Mr. Chairman, that I'd prefer to handle in executive session.
Well, we are here. It is Saturday night. We are ready to go. I am excited more than ever. We have a new guest. We have a female. We have a diversity hire. She is ready to go. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Katana.
You need to bring way more energy than that. Come on.
Hi, I'm Katana.
We tell women how it is here.
Exactly. We don't let them talk too much, so that's why I'm putting off this whole conversation. It's great having her on as a diversity hire, but the men talk at this show.
Yes, seriously. But it's glad to have you on the show, Katana. We love you very much. You're a very sweet lady. And it's an amazing opportunity to have a woman on the show, to give her base takes. And we would only let a woman on the show if she was based. So we're glad that you're here, Katana.
Well, thank you.
How based do you think you would say you are?
On a scale of 9 to... on a scale of 1 to 10, like a 9.
Scale 9 to 10?
Is this more proof that we need to repeal the 19th?
I think so. That's the only reason we brought her on today, is to prove that the 19th should be repealed. And it is most likely a useless amendment.
I mean, I kind of could agree on some things with that. My issue with women's rights to vote, though, is so we have the right to vote, but we also aren't we're not people say we shouldn't be drafted, right? But if we can vote, then we should be drafted. But in my opinion, I don't want to vote. I don't want to be drafted.
All right. Well, we'll save it for the show. So we got to get into the show today. I just wanted to address this clip. We played this opening clip. So this is a 1975. It is the House Intelligence Committee hearing from 1975. So we're talking 50 years ago, close to 50 years ago now. Can't believe 1975 was 50 years ago. But we have people being questioned about CIA operatives being embedded into American news. And, that was going on 50 years ago today. And it seems ever so prevalent that we have tampered with media outlets. We have dishonest media outlets that are trying to push an agenda. I mean, you Google the word January 6th, which we're going to get into the show today. It's all, pro corporate interest. It's pro big government interest, and it doesn't really, ever. It's reporting that doesn't ever serve the actual true American interest. So, I mean, would you agree with this, Micah?
In the 70s, we saw that our media was completely taken over by our government entities. They said, hey, we don't want to say how many operatives we have in it until we're behind closed doors. And that's one of the biggest problems that we have is our news is fake, our media is fake. Everything that we see now is propaganda. We've been watching it over the past 50 years. And that's one of the biggest problems that we have in our country right now is all of our news is pushing a perspective that is controlled. that's one of the biggest problems that we have is all of our news is controlled. And that's one of the reasons why we created Base Boys Media is because we're not controlled. We're not operatives. We don't have any, well, at least I don't know that we have any CIA operatives today. But we see that CNN, MSNBC, even Fox News is completely controlled by the powers that be.
Mm-hmm. Now, Katana, real quick, I want to get your take on this. Can you lower your mic so we can see your pretty face?
Yes, sorry.
All right. Well, there you are.
I'm a little bit shorter than the men, so.
You don't have to tell us that. We already knew that. So what do you think about the media? What do you make of the media in today's day and age?
I definitely have to agree with that. That like it's all controlled, it's all propaganda, and I honestly think this propaganda is working. You know what I mean? Like you have this mass influx of people who like there's a lot of issues. Like people believe they're transgender. People believe that everything they see on the news is correct. They believe that January 6th was some big insurrection that what they call it a riot. I mean, I wouldn't actually consider it a riot. At least it wasn't violent. You know what I mean? I'm sure there was maybe a crowd of people who got a little out of hand. But then we look at things like the Black Lives Matter protest in 2020. Why isn't the media talking about that? If they want to talk about insurgents, they want to talk about riots so bad, they can talk about that, right?
Totally right. There's a double standard when it comes to the riots and everything we see.
Extreme double standard. Like, I see it every day. So.
Yeah, like I mean, everything. It's BLM can go out and riot. They can go out and protest. And
they can burn neighborhoods down.
Burn neighborhoods, and they don't get the judicial system coming after them like
well,
we
actually,
see with January
instead
6th.
They get celebrities saying, "We'll bail you out." I mean,
yes.
but then there's people like we talk about Owen Schroyer right now, who's I don't know, is he still in?
He is currently in solitary confinement.
He's still in solitary confinement.
I don't know. There were some recent updates about him currently with the his lawyer Norm Pattis came out and was supposed to have a phone call on Wednesday or Thursday with him. I'm not really sure at the case, but the man does not deserve solitary confinement.
Not at all.
But we just see the two-tier justice system. It comes up every day on the show. So we're going to be talking about January 6th today. 44,000 hours was released by Mike Johnson. This is actually really good for Speaker of the House. We saw Kevin McCarthy for the 9 months that wasn't able to release it. So glad that he's doing that today. But, man, we're going to be getting into it today. Now, this is our Saturday show, so we kind of take a little bit more lax. We don't really cover as much news. We kind of just riff it and talk about some important things, but today we're gonna get into January 6th and then cover a couple other things. So thanks for being here. So let's get into the show today.
Any people being paid by
Well, dang, our control room messed that one up. We got to get a new control room. New control room is needed. We can't keep messing up like this.
See, the Base Boys allows a woman to our studio for the first time, and this is what happens. I think we've got some bad luck going on. It's like an old pirate ship over here, out in here.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. What is it like to be a woman, Katana? Today in the age of 2023.
Even better, what is a woman?
Yeah, that is a good question. What is a woman? I believe a woman has a vagina. I don't know. Ew. I don't know. A woman was born. A woman. I don't know. Like, it's pretty self-explanatory. They have a vagina. They have breasts. They can bear, most of the time, can bear children unless there's some anomaly happening that disallows it. You know what I mean? So I believe that, a woman is what we were taught was a woman in kindergarten. You know what I mean? It's an adult female.
That can do what?
Produce offspring, maybe?
Perfect.
Well, but not all can. I will agree with that point, that not all women can produce offspring. There are women who are barren, sadly. But again, that's not the normal. That's not the norm. That's an anomaly. And we shouldn't take anomalies as norm. Because
we're being poisoned.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. A lot of the fertility issues that happen is because they actually in the water, I believe. It's because of all the food you're eating, all the high fructose corn syrup, things like that. And I'm a victim of it. I like to indulge a little bit. But
Well,
So,
but
so
that's definitely a
you
big
talked
problem.
about atrazine in the waters. So do you think that they're turning the freaking frogs?
Oh,
gay?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I'm glad to hear that she's semi-based. So we're going to find out how based she is and how based a woman can actually be.
Yeah, she's sounding a little semi-based. So let's get to our first news story here. Really our only news story of the day, but yeah, I gotta love when that happens. Give us just a second here. Our clock is sharing up on the screen there. Let's go ahead and fix that really quick, folks. I don't know why that does that about every single day. Every time we try to go on the web share. So talking about that 44,000 hours of Capitol riot footage that was released by Mike Johnson. Give me some hope in Mike Johnson. Is this a good thing for Mike Johnson and his tenure as a Speaker of the House?
I think it is. Part of the reason
She is calling this an event that is used in the same vein as 9/11 and Pearl Harbor.
That's actually disgusting to me to compare this to instances where thousands, like, no, I wouldn't say thousands, but a ton of people died. Like, like so many people died in 9/11. So many people died in Pearl Harbor. Those were actual attacks on Americans. You know what I mean?
Some 5 people died,
Yeah.
I believe. In
No,
this,
seriously.
This day, if that, I know Ashley Babbitt is the number one.
More people
that
died in
died.
the BLM riots.
But Michael, what do you make of this in these pictures, and even what you see on just when you go to all like. We've got this great article right here. Democratic rep says January 6 tapes will prove it was an insurrection. These people are just, coming up with any way to fulfill their narrative. And I think that's what we see with so much in news is people will literally just do anything to stand their ground, whether it's true or not.
one of the things that I go back and forth between, because I try to figure out my thoughts on January 6th, because it did leave a little bit of a black stain on Donald Trump's presidency as he left. It kind of almost killed MAGA. For a brief time, MAGA wasn't sure of who they were. And that's one of the biggest problems that I do see, is because were our elections stolen? If so, then this was justified, and the January 6th people didn't go far enough. Because if our elections were stolen, that means that America was hostily taken over by an entity, whether it be foreign or domestic. It was a declaration of war. So I go back and forth between January 6th, where they go, like, people say it was a violent protest. Let's just say it was a violent protest. Let's just say it was one of the worst things. Hundreds of people died. If our elections were stolen, then this was the proper response to a stolen election.
I'd have to actually really agree with you on that. Like, it wasn't violent. Okay, that's a big thing. It wasn't violent, but even if it was violent, and let's just go ahead and say, hypothetically speaking, it was extremely violent, where, like I said, the worst thing that ever happened before. But I believe that is a very, that's the response you need to do. You know what I mean? You need to actually have an uprising. How did people, think of the Boston Tea Party, think of all these other major protests in history, think about Marie Antoinette getting her head chopped off or whatever. You know what I mean?
Or we always reference the Battle of Delaware, when they crossed the river and killed tyrants in their sleep.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Not saying we got to kill tyrants in their sleep, but I get what you're saying.
But that's
Tyrants had it coming.
I definitely agree, though, that if this was violent, I mean, honestly, what else are you supposed to do? There is a direct attack to your democracy, to what you believe in, to your freedoms. You know what I mean? How do you react to that? It's oh, okay, cool. You know what I mean?
And that's one of the biggest things as well, is because we watch in this the complete bastardization of what it was. Most of the time, it was a peaceful protest. There were 1 million people there. You may have had 1,000 people, maybe even less. I'm gonna be generous with 1,000 people who were violent. 1,000 people. That's one out of what is 1,000 out of 1 million? That's like a fraction of a percent. That is such a small amount of violence that actually happened there. And even if we want to call it violence, there's so many different videos that show that sometimes the police actually provoked it. The police allowed people into the Capitol and then started blocking them off and then just getting into fights with them. We watched them all walk in. We watched them then get cornered, and then the police attacked. There is so many different ways in which January 6th, the whole narrative of it is a complete lie.
It definitely was a trap.
It was a trap, yeah.
It was a trap.
It was a huge trap done by the left. And one of my favorite philosophers is a guy by the name of Jean-Claude Baudrillard. He wrote the book called Simulacra and Simulation. And his whole idea is everything is fake because what we are shown on the media and on the TV, on our computer, on all of the ways that we adopt media is a lie.
Oh yeah.
And so he had one of his seminal works was a thing called the Vietnam War didn't happen. He wasn't saying that the Vietnam War didn't happen. He's saying the way that we perceive it didn't happen. You could also probably say if he was still around now, right?
Did you say that for the Holocaust too?
You probably could. What do we know about the Holocaust? All we know about the Holocaust is what we've seen from pictures, from photographers, and from different directors who've done the Schindler's List.
Well, isn't that kind of what Alex Jones was saying about Sandy Hook's? Not necessarily that it didn't happen, but that the way you're perceiving it was not true. That there was crisis actors. Isn't that like the same thing, basically?
Hey, let's not go that far. We don't need a huge lawsuit.
Yeah, we don't have $1 billion, so we should
Sandy
be good.
Hook's definitely happened, by the way.
Whatever the mainstream media said about Sandy Hook, we 100% agree with, because I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I don't need the lawsuits.
Hey, that's the only way to fight him these days.
Yeah, and so that's one of the biggest problems that we see is that January 6th was shown to us by CNN, and they focused in on just a small group of the crowd that was agitators.
Rowdy.
And we've already seen that there are people like Ray Epps, who was at a federal informant. How was he there? We've seen so many other different examples of federal informants being there. Do you remember in the deposition for the January 6th, they said, hey, how many FBI informants did you have at January 6th? And the person said, no comment.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you that. Do you personally think that when we see people like the FBI informants, the CIA, you know, the actors basically that were there, do you personally think that that's the rowdy crowd, or that's who got the crowd rowdy?
I think that could be it. Because when we see the violence at January 6th, what we actually see is a small window.
Yeah.
Because people are coming in from the back, people are coming in from the front, people are coming in from the sides.
Yeah.
And then what they show us is the very front door. The very front door is the only images of violence that we see. And that's where we see people who are whispering in people's ears, and then the barricade gets removed. We see people charge the door. I'm not saying that everyone there. I do think that the crowd has a way to whip people into a frenzy.
Oh yeah, I mean I see it at concerts. You know what I mean? But like what I mean by that is, do you really think that these operatives, these people paid by the CIA, these people paid by the government, that they're the ones getting everybody rowdy? They're the ones that are provoking these people, because I kind of talked about it a second ago. It's a trap. Do you actually believe this whole thing was a trap?
Well, let's just ask Ray Epps. Ray Epps will know all the information. He's out there chanting in the crowd. He's out there telling, we have to go into the Capitol. We have to go into the Capitol. And then you have Owen Schroyer. He's out there. He's the InfoWars host that's getting 60 days now in solitary confinement, as we mentioned earlier. He and Alex Jones were there telling people not to go into the Capitol, not to do that. Our presence here is enough to do something, which, I mean, honestly, I don't think it is. But, we see the double standard. It's a double standard, because look at this. So we've got this article right here. This was from, do you guys remember 5/29/2020? So this was the real insurrection. So protesters breach temporary fences near the White House complex.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Now, Trump had to be removed to a secret bunker. You can actually, I believe to this day, they might have fixed it. You can actually still see the burn mark inside of the White House where they went through the fence and started a fire. Where was this in the news? This was this is one of many insurrections. I mean, the real insurrection is stealing the election and then having corrupt committees cover up the everything that's going on. So people don't see the double standard, and it really comes down to, I mean, what do you guys think the issue is on why there's such a disconnect on the January 6th issue? Because you see these people commenting to me.
It's because the media. It's like we talked about in the beginning. It's the media. They're fed all these lies. This is all they're fed. This is all they see. So then they see this directly diagonal opposition, which is us, saying that that's not what happened. It's like, well, I saw this one picture that says otherwise. These are people that don't have critical thinking skills. They're told what to think. You know what I mean? And that's just my 2 cents, at least. I believe they're told what to think. And when we go back to, let's say, Owen Schroyer in solitary confinement right now, to me, that's absolutely disgusting. Because, like Zane said, he wasn't doing anything. You know what I mean? He was just there saying, don't go to the Capitol, but let's be here and have our presence known. Which I think is totally fine. How many of those people that were arrested were in that picture of that rowdy crowd? How many of the people that were arrested were just simply there versus how many were actually violent and rowdy? How many, like, that's one thing that I also think that this is kind of a CIA operative thing, because, like, why aren't any of those people that were actually violent, that were actually, a little bit too rowdy, why didn't they get arrested?
And more than just that, we also see that same exact, the real insurrection that happened that day. They also burnt down St. John's Church in D.C. They went around burning down different...
Is that not a hate crime?
They probably could be considered a hate crime.
Why aren't they arrested for it? Why aren't they getting hate crime charges?
Well, it kind of goes back...
We could look into that. They're maybe not hate crime charges, but there could be some charges somewhere that we don't know about.
I'm talking about specifically hate crime charges. If you were to burn down a synagogue right now, you would get a hate crime charge. If you were to burn down a mosque, you would absolutely get a hate crime charge, which, I mean, you should. But why aren't these, like, did these people get hate crime charges as well?
They didn't get any hate crime charges. I don't think very many people were prosecuted for this one. But one of the things that was kind of almost a note that we touch on quite a bit with our show is the fact that there is a two-tier justice system. We do see Donald Trump be persecuted and prosecuted, while at the same time we don't see equal enforcement across the board. We see different people from different camps have giant lawsuits brought against them for donating a couple dollars too much, like to Nesta Souza, to a friend, but then you have the judge and the staff in the Donald Trump case right now who donated too much to political campaigns.
Yeah.
There is a two-tier justice system. I hate using this because it's pretty plain out, but the rules for thee and not for me.
Yeah.
We see that over and over and over again. So often do we get to the point where America is divided between the people such as the ruling class who don't have any rules, and then the middle class who have all the rules, all the taxation, and then the bottom class who is used as the pawns of the upper class against the middle class. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of times I reject that there is massive racism going on in America, because that's one of my biggest things that I think that they use to divide America is by claiming there's massive amounts of racism. Let's teach critical race theory to our kids. Let's push things.
I think the Democrats are more racist.
Well, according to, they've changed the definition of racism. It's being critical of any statistic that would make a certain population or ethnicity look bad is racist. Pointing out the facts are now racist.
Yeah.
And that's where we've come.
I see a lot of, like, white Democrat women, you know what I mean?
White liberal women are the most dangerous to society right now.
They are so insane. Like, they emphasize black people. They emphasize different minority groups. And like, well, I'm doing you a justice. I'm white, so I can speak for you. That's more racist than me sitting here being like, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that's far more racist in my opinion, because you're saying that your voice overshadows theirs because you're white or because you're a Democrat. Whatever the reason may be, you're saying that you overshadow them. Right?
I do think in the same way that we see people who, like the same person who created Planned Parenthood would have considered herself an ally today.
That's disgusting.
It's not. I'm not advocating for a racially ambiguous. I don't know. Everyone is all welcome in America. But what I am saying is that racism is overblown in America, and racism is used to divide America. Because if you can turn 50% of whites into victims, and you can turn the 13% of blacks.
Ridiculous.
and one of the biggest things with it as well is we don't see a higher number with inflation is because in the 90s, Bill Clinton took housing inflation off of the CPI. Some people call it the CP lie. And so we're not going to see as high of inflation numbers as we did see back in the 70s because they took off one of the biggest metrics because housing just keeps on going up and up and up and up.
Oh, dude, it's insane. Isn't interest rates like 8% or something crazy like that?
Yeah, we're talking like 8% currently.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doubling your mortgage payment from 4 or 5, 6 years ago. So Well, we know where we stand on the 19th Amendment, so I want to get your take. Where do we stand on the 13th Amendment? Just kidding. We're not going there. That's for another show.
Oh,
but,
my goodness.
We're going to get into
Different
this.
for that one.
So that was the only news topic we're going to cover. We just wanted to cover that January 6th because we feel like it's super important, and we feel that there should be some sort of committee or something to go after the people that tried to suppress this, because it's really damaging to the MAGA movement, because you have so many people out there that are just think that this is just a violent thing that it makes MAGA people look bad.
On that same scope, though, if we have somebody that specifically goes after, what these people did to the J6, like insurrectors, we should have somebody that also looks into what caused J6, election fraud. We should have a completely neutral party look at the possibility of election frauds. Well,
Donald Trump is currently he's in litigation currently trying to do that. So hopefully that can be done. But
I don't think Donald Trump should be the one to say it, though, because that makes him look absolutely awful. I mean, we all know what's going on, but you know how the media takes it. Like I said, we should have somebody completely neutral, somebody who, like, has nothing to do with either side.
Well, the problem that we see with that, and this is one of the reasons why Donald Trump's most of his cases got thrown out, not even his cases, but all the people who were suing over election fraud, is because the court threw out most of the cases. I believe there's like 130 cases that went up during 2020 against the court, or against the elections, and the court threw out all but 3 on standing. Do you remember when Texas sued Pennsylvania, and the Supreme Court said, yeah, but Texas, you don't have the standing? And you're like, they throw out everything except for when Donald Trump brings it up to court, because he's the aggrieved party. And so when Donald Trump brings it up, it's almost like he's the only one that can, because I could sue the state of whatever, but the only problem is the cases can be thrown out completely, because the court system's going to say, you don't have the right to say that your vote was stolen because you're not the aggrieved party. But as the American people, I should be able to say my vote was stolen.
Yeah,
but then again,
you're an American citizen. That is your vote.
But then again, I voted in California, so I'm not sure if my vote actually counted.
Boo.
Yeah. You probably voted like 20 times for Joe Biden.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, fun fact, my mom passed away in 2019, and she voted in the 2020 election.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So, but yeah, we need to bring back a cohesive America, and this January 6th doesn't do that. It's polarizing for many people. I went to Target today for some odd reason. Had a gift card from Target, and I realized just how far out of touch some people in America are, and just how confused people are about life. We're not going to really get into that, but we have to bring back a cohesive America. So we see a lot of these people. We've got these pro-Palestine protests. We've got Xi Jinping was just in San Francisco. We see, all types of non-American support coming in to the United States. We have a southern border crisis. We could be a Roman Empire. I have no doubt that could be a foreseeable future for my children's future.
That's so scary. That's absolutely terrifying to me, to think that my kids will have a future in America. Like the America that I grew up in. You know what I mean? I'm still pretty young, but the America that I grew up in is no longer a thing. And it's actually so sad that these kids aren't growing up with the American dream. They're growing up with the idea that they're being oppressed, that they're I hate saying that, you're so special, but they think that they're special. You know what I mean? They think that they're so much different than anybody else, right?
Yeah, the American dream has turned. The American dream has turned into McDonald's fries, psychotropics. 40 pounds overweight,
seriously.
and thousands of dollars in debt, and so much more. So we got to get moving along here. We're they only allow us so much airtime. At rumble.com.
Who's they?
Yeah, who's they?
Who's they? But what I want to talk about is the cohesion of America and what we see with these Chinese nationals. Let's play this quick clip here real quick. So we see a bunch of people ripping down Chinese flags. Lots of Chinese coming over here supporting Xi Jinping. Good for these guys. Rip them down, man. Rip those Chinese flags down. They have no interest being in this country.
That was in San Francisco, right?
Yes, this was for Xi Jinping earlier this week.
also I don't like how rude they're being. Like I don't like they look like they're being very mean. And I don't know, like they're just standing there.
That's what sounds like a woman would say.
So I understand exactly where these Chinese people are coming from, because there are so many people who've came to America for freedom against the Chinese Communist Party.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so for example, I would assume that some of these people are of the party of, well, not even party, but of the practice of Falun Gong. And so with them, that was the like, so every single president of China has their people that they persecute. So like, for example, Xi has the Uyghurs. The guy before him had the Falun Gong people, in which basically they took the 7 million Falun Gong people, and then basically sold off all their kidneys, sold off all their intestines, used them in sweat factories. And so there's so many people in America who absolutely, especially in the Chinese community, who actually were able to escape the persecution and the horrible mistreatment of different ethnic minorities within China. So I think this is a super reasonable response to seeing the Chinese flag being celebrated within America, because they went to America for freedom, and now they're seeing China be represented. In California, there's actually a memorial to the Falun Gong people, and because so many people of them died, and they all kind of came to America to seek religious freedom.
And that's really sad, and I can definitely understand that. You know what I mean? You have these immigrants coming over, you know, that have seen horrible things, especially with communism. And I can agree with that. Seeing that Chinese flag being represented in America, being flown in your streets, whenever you escaped China, whenever you escaped communism, hardly with your life, you know, I can definitely understand how frustrating that would be. But like you said, they came over here for freedom. I mean, I hate to say it, but those people have the freedom to do that as well.
So, Mike, can you speak on, you lived in China, unfortunately.
He's a communist.
What is the level of conformity over there? Like, do you have to conform to a certain standard to, like, live and be in China? I mean, obviously we see the WeChat and the, you know, the basically the digital ID that you have to be a part of, essentially. Like, what, like, do you have to conform to the way of the government and the way of communism to live in China? Or, you know, or how much are they on freedom? Like, what does that look like?
So I never saw, actually, no, I did. There is huge religious persecution going on there, so I don't want to speak. Oh, absolutely.
I was not aware of that.
Absolutely, it is. I don't want to speak.
You can't even have like they persecute Christianity.
Yes,
100%.
100%. They persecute.
What's
Christianity.
the dominant religion over there?
There is no dominant religion over there. A lot of people.
Really?
I remember.
Government.
The government dominant religion.
So no religion is the predominant religion,
Oh, wow.
but then every single church, every single religious entity has to have a Beijing appointed pastor, and then there's
Really?
cameras inside of him. And so we've already seen the stories about how the Chinese Communist Party has changed the Bible, and how the Chinese Communist Party has been lobbying the Vatican, saying we want to appoint our own cardinals, we want to appoint our own pastors or priests, and we've seen the Chinese Communist Party saying we're not going to accept the ones that the Vatican gives us, we're going to only allow the ones that the Chinese Communist Party gives us. There is massive religious persecution that happens there. I'm not really the biggest fan of speaking too much about what goes on in other countries. Too much. I care mostly what happens in America, and I don't like seeing America turn into a communistic Chinese style. So, for example, I do believe that the Chinese Communist Party, whether it's right or wrong, has the right to rule their people the way they deem fit.
But don't bring it over here. Leave that over there.
But leave it over there. In the same way, I also support the Chinese Communist Party's right to try to take over America. But I want America to have the right to fight back, and to actually then go in and really take on them, and not go, oh, I'm so sorry for the racism. There's a saying in Chinese called the Wu Mao. It's called the 5 cent army. What the 5 cent army is every single person who posts political propaganda in America, in Britain, even within China, they get paid 5 cents. They're called Wu Maos.
I was actually gonna bring
5
that
cent
up.
army.
I know, like, I've seen quite a bit of like Chinese propaganda. I'm not even sure if it's completely Chinese propaganda, but I've seen a lot of propaganda that's been hitting the young people super hard. I'm very active on social media. I love to scroll TikTok. That's kind of, I'm a woman, okay? What can you say? And I see that all the time. I see all these, I see like all this propaganda, and like, I mean, as somebody who has been waking up, you know what I mean, I can obviously see it, but then I go to the comments and I see so many people saying like, this is what I believe in, you know what I mean, like fuck, like I hear I hear a lot of people talking about how much
It's
they
okay,
hate
you get
capitalism.
4 F words a show. It's okay.
I wasted one. But I see a lot of people saying how much they hate capitalism and how much capitalism has destroyed their life, and how capitalism is a direct precursor to fascism, which to me couldn't be further from the truth. You know what I mean? That's just what I see. So I see this propaganda, and I've always wondered if how much these people are being paid for it. If they're
5 cents.
Yes, that's what I was gonna ask you. See, and that's so sad to me. You know what I mean? Like I see like.
And,
Okay,
and
let's see.
so
I'm
one of our
excited.
commenters says no
You ready to
foreigner has
fight?
the right to be here. She needs to learn some history. I'd love to hear a little bit more about
Okay,
this.
so I believe they have the right to be here because I mean, in reality, like I'm white, Zane's white, I think Mike is white, maybe. I believe that. I mean, we're immigrants, we're foreigners. Now, do they need to be here legally? That's the big thing. They need to be here legally. They need to be here peacefully. They can't just cross the border and be like, oh, you know what I mean? But they absolutely have the right to be here the same way I have the right to be here, the same way Zane does, the same way Micah does, the same way you do. Unless you're Native American, really. I mean, all of us.
So what you're saying here is that as long as you come in legally through the
And peacefully.
then you have the right to be in America. So then what limitations should we have? Or what limitations do you believe that we should have on immigration? Do you think there should be a number, or just like 10 million people legally?
First of all, why are we listening to a woman on this topic?
Shut up. Because you invited me.
No, I'm just kidding.
So, I mean, are you talking about like how many people should be able to come here legally? Is that
Okay,
your question?
So if we're going through the legal process, Joe Biden just waved his hand and legalized 500,000 Venezuelans.
See, that should not be the case.
But it is legal now because they're legal now.
I mean,
because
but
he
are
waved
they?
his hand,
But are they?
and they've just been naturalized. That's the legal
But
process
should
now.
they be?
Should
Did I mean, like, think about it? Did they come across the border humanely? Did they get coyotes to cross to get them across the border? Did they come in here, fill out their paperwork immediately, and then wait to be approved?
so
Did they come in here? And you said he just now did that, right? Like, I'm assuming pretty recently.
and now they're legally in the
Okay.
country. Now they're legal.
But were they here
lawful
before
citizens.
that?
Yeah.
That's not legal.
No, but now they are legal.
But they weren't in the first place.
So what you're saying is that someone that comes to America in the first place that isn't legal, so then all DACA, all of the dreamers, you'd say.
But yeah,
the boot?
completely. I mean, kinda. If they're not here legally, there's a process to be followed, and I can understand how stressful it could be, especially if you're seeking asylum. You know what I mean? I could definitely understand that, but they need to be here legally.
Okay, but like I said, the law is very complex on this one,
It is.
and we allow at least 1 million people a year into America.
There shouldn't be that many.
So what you're saying is then that the legal process for people to become citizens isn't actually right
No, it's
and
not.
lawful. So
No.
then what you're saying then kind of circles around to they don't have the right to be here legally.
I mean, no,
because-
like, no. I mean, technically, in a way, I guess what you're saying is correct. Like, I mean, when I think of legally being here, I think of having a green card. I think of having a job. I think of paying taxes. I think of them coming over here peacefully, filling out the proper applications to come
that's
here.
one of the lies that we've been told, is that if we allow the legals in and we give them everything that they need, they're going to be paying taxes. And so
See-
that's one of the biggest lies that we were told, and that they actually do pay taxes. A lot of like, even not even like a lot, like I would say half, maybe even more than that, do pay taxes into the federal system. Is that legal and lawful that they pay taxes?
I'm not totally sure, to be honest. In my opinion, they just need to be here legally, peacefully, and do the right things. They need to act like Americans to be here.
Well, here's
That's
my
my
2 cents.
opinion.
I believe that we should have it should be a very controlled and very regulated.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say.
We're a business. The United States is a business, and maybe there should be, because we have 10 million illegals coming across the border. Most of them aren't even, just from Mexico. They're coming. A lot of them are coming from Venezuela. We've got the non-governmental organizations that are assisting these people to come over here as well. But there should be some sort of moratorium for the next like 10 to 15 years to maybe halt immigration. But here's the problem: is you have these emotional freaking nimrods that are gonna, combat this and be like, oh well, you're not very humanitarian because you're not letting all these people come over here. And it's like, America is a business, okay? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have a business, you're not just gonna let all these people come in and get services for free. Like, that's not how it works. Like, this is the real freaking world. And
no, I definitely agree
and
with
like
that.
I stand hard on this issue, and I think most people should stand hard on this issue. Maybe stop immigration for a while because you have so many people coming across.
Yeah, there's like a
but
huge
you have to
influx.
share the idea, the American ideology. We talk about it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
American ideology is so important. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, freedom, representative government.
And
we can go on and on with that.
I definitely
but you
agree with
have to
that.
come over here and you have to have that mindset. You can't come over here, have third world behavior, commit crime, expect to get $2,200 a month from the freaking government. So Real Anthony Aguero from Twitter, I highly recommend you guys check him out. Real Anthony Aguero, he is covering some phenomenal footage on the border right now. But he went around and he went along probably like 20, 30, 40, maybe 50 people he asked. They're all going to New York because New York has some of the best benefits right now, I believe, for these illegals. And every single one of them wants to go to New York because they're serving them this taxpayer dollars. And you even had Mayor Eric Adams come out and say that we can't handle this. We cannot handle this level of immigration. So we're cutting funding from other areas as well. So it's taking a heavy impact on our economy, and it's got to stop. So I say shut the border down, put a moratorium on immigration, and it's that simple.
No, I definitely agree. It needs to be like really strictly regulated, and I'll be the first to say that. Right, there needs to be strict regulation. We like I said, we need to put a halt on immigration for all, just because there's this huge influx of people come from everywhere, really. You know what I mean? So I definitely agree with you on that. And I definitely agree that we shouldn't be spending our taxpayer dollars whenever you have old people out there, that paid into the, like, let's say Social Security, for instance. You have old people who have paid into the system for 60 years, and they're out eating cat food because that money they paid in is now going to immigrants. I don't think that's right.
Here's another interesting comment.
Don't attack me again.
No, this is not an attack on you. Every single one of them are going to be deported when Trump is back in office. What do you guys think about Trump? Do you know how he said that he's going to invoke wartime powers and send people back?
Well, I remember in 2016 him saying something very similar, didn't he? I remember that was a huge thing. Because fun fact about me, I used to be more on the liberal side. All right.
We converted her.
Really?
We converted her.
No.
We converted her.
No, actually, Zane did. Whenever we met in 2020, he kind of was the one who opened my eyes. So I remember in 2016, 2017, 2018, people being so mad, and even myself, honestly, being kind of mad because he was saying, "Oh, we're gonna split these families up. We're gonna make ICE rain down." You know what I mean? Like
I'm not
things
sure
like
if he
that.
actually said that.
Yeah, I mean something along those lines of like I remember people being so mad because Trump was implementing ICE. I remember like I used to live in a minority. It was a minority heavy neighborhood, right? So there's a lot of Hispanic, a lot of Black people, things like that. And I remember like Hispanic people I knew like being fearful almost. And I don't know exactly what Trump said during that time. I was pretty young, to be totally honest. I'm only 21 now, so I wasn't super involved in politics back then. I just agreed with what I heard, But I remember that being said, and I don't think much happening back then.
So what you're conflating is between the two ideas of what people thought he was saying and the news coming out about that, because I do remember those as well, saying, "Oh my gosh, Donald Trump is putting kids in cages."
Yes,
how cool.
that, yeah.
Which never actually happened.
Yeah.
I
know that now.
and so those policies are in order to protect the children from child traffickers, which is to me one of the most eye-opening thing is we see now, and I think a lot of people's eyes have been opened to the fact that there is a massive influx of there's a massive influx of people trafficking children into America.
Yeah, Zane actually showed me a video that made my mom heart break, of children being drugged and carried by men, and they'd be asked, "How old is the child?" The man would be like, "I don't know." He just shrug his shoulders. You know what I mean? Like, and that to me was just so, my mom heart just absolutely broke seeing these children who are being drugged. Who knows what they're being drugged with? You know what I mean? And it was trafficking. Like I know they were using those children to get into the U.S., but what were they doing with those children once they did get in there?
Well, more and more the more and more I like read news and see what's going on, the more and more I want to just, go out in the middle of the woods and, just live off the grid and not be a part of any of
There's
this.
no such thing as off the grid anymore.
No, I think you're right.
I mean, let's say
it's hard to
you have
escape the system.
let's say you have no electricity, no internet. Everything you do is solely based on yourself. How are you going to escape those satellites, huh? Those satellite trackers.
I do agree with you with a lot of those things, because even if I do want to live off the grid, property taxes are a bitch. They come after you in every single way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go buy a house and then retire and live. I'm gonna live without any problems, and then they go, no.
I was talking about
1.5.
that earlier. It's like you never really own your house because you're always paying property taxes on it. Even if it's not that much, you're still paying for it.
I actually knew a guy who bought a trailer, and there's a little town called Winnett in Oklahoma. It's like, I think it's like southeast of like the Thunderbird area. It's like a tiny town, nothing but woods pretty much. He bought this tiny little trailer and set up in the middle of the woods. He was like, they can't find me here, but they did. He got served and he had to leave. So I agree with you guys on that, but like, I guess there's a way to maybe get around property taxes. I don't know. This is our land, right?
Well, not with the 85,000 new IRS agents. They're gonna find you.
Dude,
at that
I
point.
hate the IRS. I do not want to pay taxes.
No, I don't think anybody does.
No, like I think taxes are ridiculous right now. Like, why? Like, you're gonna take, like, I'm self-employed, kind of. I mean, I own an Etsy shop. You know what I mean? So how are you gonna take like 35-40% of my income for taxes, right? I mean, I barely make enough as it is. Kind of, like I said, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I just do it kind of for fun, a little bit extra income. But you're gonna take 35-40% of my income and do what with it? I don't take any government subsidies. I'm not on food stamps. I'm not on Social Security. I'm not anything like that. So why do you take my money? And then at the same time, we have to pay, they say,
that we're sick and tired of people not being treated the way that God wanted to be treated.
So this is a little bit off topic, but like I can see him on the screen over there. And like, do you know how many like Asian people I had to go against in policy debate? Like the vast majority. I think it was like one of like maybe 5 white women in like the state of Oklahoma that was on the policy debate team.
Are the Asian men master debaters?
They are masturbators.
I like the point that you make, Micah. I joke on the whole, like, it's the Jews that run the world, it's not the Christians, but it's the fact that
did Micah say that?
They I joke on that fact, but I think that it's the point that you make, that they see Christianity and the white people, because what they're told in school. They're told that critical race theory is crammed down their throats. They're told that the white man is the most dangerous threat to the American way of life. And I totally agree with you that as being the first ones to abolish slavery, they don't see, they don't really see the big picture.
Well, I will
and
say,
understand.
whenever I was in policy debate, I saw the indoctrination absolutely firsthand. So, like I said, I'm only 21. And whenever I was in policy debate, I remember whenever Trump got indicted for the first time. Or not indicted, article of impeachment. I'm so sorry. I remember his first article of impeachment. And I remember everybody going absolutely batshit insane about it, right? Because, everybody hated Trump in policy debate. Everybody hated it. Everybody hated him. And I see things like that all the time. And I think back on that. To me, that's really sad, really depressing to, really see. And Tyler Pipkin, if you're watching this, why'd you indoctrinate me when I was 15? Screw you. That was my coach.
So you're saying is you were groomed as a younger person?
Absolutely, I was. So I was only put in speech and debate, which was what the course was called, because I was missing a credit, and it was either that speech or debate or drama or or theater. I was like, I'm not going into theater.
Yeah,
Who do you think I am? I'm not one of those weird kids. So I was like, I guess I'll do speech debate. It seems easy enough. And I was groomed and indoctrinated like crazy. I was somebody who didn't care either way about politics, right? Like, I really didn't care. But I was told, this is what and I was also told I was taught how to research things. And you know what I was taught? I was taught that things like CNN, NBC, MSNBC, like things like that. I screwed that up.
I think you got that one wrong.
No, I did. I'm freaking heated right now, though, because I was taught those were the reliable sources.
I love MSNBC.
That was a total Joe Biden moment.
You're so mean to me.
Well, so here he says, society is dominated by white Christians. Do you believe this to be a fact, Micah? Is society really dominated by white Christians?
That was your joke.
Is society dominated by white Christians?
Well, according to MSNBC, it is. But here's the
Who dominates society?
here's the thing is Christians do not okay, now you guys want me to say that. Dominate society. We should be okay, shoot. You guys
Dominated.
You guys got me all messed up. Yeah.
Say it slowly.
Christians-
Dominated.
No, I'm just doing this now because you guys are all getting me there. But Christians should be dominating in every single part of society. There is no place that Christians shouldn't be the top at. And one of the reasons why they have to go so hard at, let's say you want to say the white Christian, or even if you want to bring it down to even the white Christian man, is because they need to destroy that entity. They need to destroy that figure because the white Christian man, as they like to put it, is the last line of defense against tyranny.
Well, that's one thing that me and Zane talked about not too long ago. I cut it off the record. The reason why they want to go against white Christian men specifically is because white Christian men are the first ones to speak their they speak their mind. They say what's bothering them. They say what needs to be wrong. White Christian men are known at the backbone of the society, to be completely honest with you. Like, you know what I mean? They talk about, think about all the wars that have happened. Think about, just kind of think about history, like all the things. Is it not white men, white Christian men specifically, who were the first to say, actually, that's wrong? And you think about, they also want to destroy the family structure. That's a huge thing. They want to destroy the family structure like absolutely no other. And why is that? It's the same reason. Because if there's a family structure, then they can't get through to it. They can't indoctrinate your children if you have a mother and a father who's present, that is telling them the ways things should be. Am I right?
I'm actually going to defer to, do you know the opening clip that we have, that voiceover in the start of the Based Boys very opening scene?
Paul Harvey from the 70s.
Yeah. When he says, if you can remove absolutes, when you can remove extremes, because Christianity is an extreme. It is extremely against the world. It is extremely against...
It's against the flesh.
It is against the flesh. It stands apart from every single aspect of society. It stands apart. It is... They even refer to the city on the hill. America is the city on the hill. We are the last bastion of freedom. We're the last bastion of true Christianity. Yeah. We have true free thought. And they use that thought against us. I think one of the easiest things to do against Christianity, and I think one of the easiest things to do, maybe not Christianity, but against Christians, is you can make them feel so guilty.
Oh my God, you can.
You can hit them with some shame, saying, wow, look at the things that your great-great-great-great-grandfather did in a different era, in a different time, in a different world. I can't believe that you didn't give women the right to vote.
Or what's really crazy that I see all the time is you see these people who, they don't really know what they're talking about, but they take a very small section of the Bible. They take like 2 sentences from the Bible and say, look, you guys are absolutely terrible people. You guys, look, God said it's okay to have slaves. Well, that's not exactly what God said. You know what I mean? God was talking about obeying, to be able to keep your faith. Things like, things like that I see all the time where they're like, look at how evil your God was. Look at how terrible a person you are because you believe in this God. And it's like, well, you're kind of misinterpreting that, but okay, bud.
Yeah, we live in a world where, people are blamed for something they're not even a part of, and then we don't even hold people accountable for what they're a part of.
No, there's no accountability.
It's sickening because we blame people for being racist or for being a part of slavery and everything, and then, we see what the black population, the majority of black population, not all the black population is doing, and they're not even held accountable at all.
Oh,
it's just completely brushed and put under the rug. The 13% commits 57% of the crime. It's completely brushed under the rug.
I wouldn't, to be perfectly honest with you, I would not be too terribly mad. Of course, I'd say like, wow, you guys got this wrong. But I would not be too terribly mad about what people are saying about the J6 insurrection if there was that same exact mindset for what happened in 2020. That's just my opinion, though. If people were willing to, I would say compare the two, but if they were willing to put them on the same scope as one another, then honestly, I wouldn't be that bad. You can say that what happened at January 6th was absolutely awful. You can say it was the worst that ever happened, if you can also say about 2020.
To get back on what we're kind of saying about the whole Christian world.
So I went on a tangent.
We went off a little bit, but to go back to Christianity and its need in society is in order to destroy basically Western society, you need to destroy Christianity.
I mean,
Because
yeah.
Christianity is the only thing in this world that actually keeps us free.
It's what we were founded on.
It is more than just what we were founded on. It is.
I mean, it's the basics of our society.
It's more. It's even more than that. That is exactly where art, literature, everything from the Western society comes from. All of that, and even people's desire to be free, and even all the different ideas that are in the Constitution, all come from the Bible.
Yeah.
More than just, oh, this is what our society is based off of. It is what our thought is based off of. It is what our ideology is based off of.
Yeah.
It is where the
our
idea
politics.
that every single person is made in God's image. And it keeps us from falling into tyranny. Because if every single person is made in God's image, then how can you rule over someone else? You mentioned something earlier about biblical slavery, like slaves being in the Bible. That's in Leviticus.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those interesting things because people say, oh, look, the Bible talks about slavery. They must be evil. Like the Bible is, I can't believe it talks about that. But what the Bible actually is referring to is because in ancient times, the Bible actually mandates that you have to set your slaves free after a certain amount of time, because slavery in the Bible is very different than what we deem slavery is now. It said after 7 years you set your slaves free. Then there's also the 50 years, the year of Jubilee. The Bible's the first place in any recorded history of people setting slaves free. And then Jesus goes on and advocates and saying you need to set all your slaves free. And in Jude, that is a letter to one of the apostles to a person who owned a slave, saying you need to actually treat your slave as an equal and as a person. And then the person actually ended up setting his slave free because once he treated him as an equal, he no longer could have them. The Bible is the number one advocate for equal rights amongst all people, all religions, not all religions, but like all people of the world. The Bible is the ultimate thing that sets people free. So why does the globalist deep state organization, why do they want to destroy what the Bible says? I think that is
because they don't want you free.
They do not want you free. That is the nail on the head.
Wow, I'm so smart.
Well, I kind of laid it out for you right there. But that's my whole point, is if they can destroy and attack the people who believe in Christianity, then they can take away our freedoms. They can take...
And then, how much has been increased since this, October 7th conflict. I mean,
at least 12 cents.
I don't know. I smell false flag on the whole thing, but, that's besides the point. So, we're glad that you guys were here today. Thank you for watching. Katana, once again, hope to have you back on the show.
It was a great honor having you on.
It's a great honor.
Thank you. You guys are so sweet to me.
Yeah, hopefully we get lots of views.
After putting me on, like in the hot seat, the whole stream, you're like, all right, great to have you.
Back to the commenters that we had.
Yes. Oh, I started sweating.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you guys very much. If you like, subscribe, please share with your friend. And if you guys could give us a subscribe on Twitter. We need some more Twitter followers. As you guys know, we are an amateur content creator.
They're just little baby creators.
Just baby people here. It can be turned into a great thing. I mean, imagine if we hit at this for 30 years and what kind of operation this could become to.
It could be wonderful.
One of the greats started 30 years ago. Alex Jones started with nothing, and he's here, and he's becoming a beast in the
gaming world.
Awakening people. And that's what we want to do, and try to inspire people to see the political corruption and wake up spiritually to God. So with that, help us, and any way possible, share and like, and we will see you guys on the next episode. Till next time, stay based
and stay boys.
He threw it out there. I love it.